Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Maggie Aziz and I'm the Program Director at Dining for Women. And as always, I'm joined by our Communications Director, which is Laura Haight, who is joining us just in case any kind of technical difficulties arise as we're doing the show today. And we're both really excited to have Ashlyn Doyle, who is the President of the Board of the Mariposa DR Foundation, which is our April featured program. Thanks for joining us today, Ashlyn.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
So like usual, we're going to start off the show today by pretty much giving Ashlyn the opportunity to introduce us to her program. I think she has a presentation that she'd like to share with us. So take it away, Ashlyn.
Well, buenas tardes, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you all for your interest in the Mariposa DR Foundation. We are huge fans of Dining for Women, and we're honored to be featured this month, so thank you. So I guess let's just get right to the presentation. So I just want to give you a little bit of background about the organization and some context for the Dominican Republic. So the Mariposa DR Foundation is based in the town of Cabarete, and we are on the north coast of the island. The Dominican Republic faces many challenges, but one major one is the education system. In 2010, UNESCO and the World Forum ranked the Dominican Republic's primary education as the worst in Central America and the Caribbean region. Educational spending is about 1.9% of GDP. Children go to school for about 2 to 3 hours a day, either in the morning or the afternoon, and classrooms are extremely overcrowded. So it's definitely a challenging situation. Where we are in Cabarete is right on the water. And this is a view from Google Maps. You can see the beach, pointing to it with my mouse. And then the beach is lined with restaurants and hotels. It's a popular tourist destination for kite surfers and windsurfers especially. Hidden across the street, locals live in a cramped community built on wetlands in a neighborhood called the Callejon. And you can see that neighborhood right here. That community is where most of our Mariposa girls live, in a house much like that one. Our history is directly tied to our executive director, Patricia Thorndike-Suriel, who came to Cabarete in 1992 to mountain bike. She fell in love with the community and moved down there permanently in 1993. She started an ecotourism company called Iguana Mama, and she married her husband Freddie, who grew up in and around Cabarete. So in trying to address education issues, she began raising money and collecting donations for schools and founded the Dream Project to mentor youth in the community. And then in 2009, inspired by the need in Cabarete and by the UN Millennium Development Goals, Trisha and Jessica Lawson, who was a longtime volunteer in Cabarete at the time, founded the Mariposa DR Foundation. So our mission at the Mariposa DR Foundation is to empower our girls to break the cycle of generational poverty. We do that through a holistic approach that includes academic enrichment, arts, sports, healthcare, among a lot of other activities. Our Unleash the Leader in a Girl program is an experiential education program that teaches girls leadership qualities and marketable skills. We create an environment where both Dominican and Haitian girls between the ages of 8 and 21 develop healthy relationships and feel empowered to make a difference in their lives and in their communities. We believe that this format creates a conveyor belt of success from cradle to college. And some key elements of what we do include all the girls in the family and in their immediate support group are included in the program, and that helps us ensure a higher participation rate. Girls also engage regularly with their families and work beside parents and siblings and neighbors and community members, as well as international community members. One thing we think is success is different for each girl, and each girl has a different set of challenges that stand in her way, so that's something that we're constantly aware of. And we're proud of the fact that our girls have a broad spectrum of options to choose from for their own personal programs. So there's a lot of ownership, and they can choose from tennis to kite surfing to sewing to music lessons, whatever their personal interests are. So when we first started, we were working out of a small apartment, but in 2010, the foundation bought an abandoned, dilapidated property. I mean, it was a mess, but we've been renovating it, and we moved into it last year, and it's the Mariposa Center for Girls. This is our home base, and this picture you're seeing is kind of an overview of a bird's eye view of what it looks like. We have classrooms for tutoring, a library, a kitchen, a pool for swim lessons, a sewing room. There's a great educational garden, a basketball court. We have lots of plans to continue renovating as we raise funds, including a covered pavilion for rainy day activities, as well as a skate park, just to name a few things. It's really created a second home for our girls, something we're really excited about. So it's been amazing to see the growth and progress we've made in the last 4 years. We started with only about 15 girls in 2009, and now we're up to 100 girls, and we're so proud of every single one of them. You can see some of the activities that they participate in while they're in our program, and it's amazing how much we've grown in that amount of time. So I know that you have some questions for me, and we'll go into more depth, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of background of what we do at the Mariposa DR Foundation.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that, Ashlyn. So in regards to the program itself that Dining for Women is funding, can you tell us a little bit about what issues your program is really designed to address?
Yeah, sure. So as I said, we look to empower our Mariposas to break the cycle of generational poverty. And so our Unleash a Leader in a Girl program helps them do this in a whole bunch of different ways. And some of the biggest issues facing them, I would say, are lack of education. So less than 20% of all girls in the DR make it past 8th grade. We know education is one of the greatest ways to break the cycle, so that's a major issue for us. Early pregnancy is another major issue. The DR has one of the highest adolescent pregnancy rates in Latin America and the Caribbean, so we work with our girls to try to delay pregnancy as long as possible. Domestic responsibilities are also an issue. Our girls are burdened with household chores. You know, they're caring for their siblings. They're not able to grow and learn really as children or adolescents if they're having all these adult responsibilities very early on. So that's something that we focus on. We want to make sure that they're in school as much as possible. And then, you know, there's always the danger of kidnapping looming over our community. There's a thriving sex tourism industry in and around Cabarete, so and girls from our community have been kidnapped and trafficked into that industry, so that's something that's a major issue for us as well. So I would say those 4 things are some of our biggest issues that we try to address.
So then how does the program, you've kind of touched on a little bit of how the program tries to meet those needs and combat those issues. Can you go into a little bit more detail about how specifically the program does that?
Yeah, so we do it in a whole bunch of different ways. You know, I said we use a holistic approach with each girl, but some of the things that we include are academic enrichment. So, you know, they're only in school for 2 to 3 hours a day. That's not very much time. So we do some private tutoring. We also help our girls and give them school supplies and school uniforms to make sure that while they're in school, they're doing well. We also have a strong community engagement component, so our girls are required to do about 15 to 20 hours of community service a year. We also have experiential learning. They can choose among a whole bunch of options like hiking, gardening, a lot of arts opportunities, vocational training. We also do a lot of health and wellness with them, so yearly they're given medical, dental, and eye exams, and then care as it's needed. We also give them daily meals and snacks, you know, to keep them healthy and help them stay focused. When you're hungry, it's really hard to focus. We have weekly health education classes that deal with everything from HIV and AIDS to nutrition. We also are big on physical education, so we get our girls involved in sports and swimmings. You know, we live right near a beach, and so it's important that they know how to swim, things like that. And then international awareness. So they work alongside a lot of our student service groups that come down and our international volunteers, so giving them a sense that there's a global community outside of Cabarete. So all those things happen during the week in small groups. But then on Saturdays, all of our Mariposas come together. They do leadership and bonding activities. That's when they do their community service and their field trips. And then during the summer, we have a girls' leadership camp as well. So a lot of different things going on.
No, you can tell that that's definitely a holistic approach because you're touching on so many different ways of dealing with the problem. Before the girls come into the program, and then when they're in there, complete them, what difference do you see in them? Like, what does success really look like to these girls and to the organization, really?
Yeah, you know, this is a question we get a lot, and for us, success really varies depending on the girl. Because we're taking a holistic approach, you really need to look at the context of the girl. You know, is her mother illiterate? Is her father in the picture? Is she HIV positive? Is she Haitian or is she Dominican? Each girl is facing such a different set of circumstances and a different set of challenges that might be standing in her way. So it's really different depending on the girl. For one girl, success was learning how to swim and becoming the first Dominican girl kiteboarder in Cabarete. I mean, that was amazing. And then for another girl, you know, she was not able to complete high school, but she learned sewing skills and discovered that she is extremely talented, and she makes beautiful quilted art and sells it and is able to make a living. For us, the big thing is if a girl can go to school past the grade that her mother did and wait to have children until after the age her mother did, that's starting to break the cycle. So for us, that is success. So, you know, it really does vary, but each girl sort of has that moment that we're really proud of her and we feel like, okay, she's made it a little bit easier for herself.
Wow, that's really interesting. Obviously, Dining for Women, we're obviously really excited in supporting this program. So just to give our membership just a little bit more understanding, how exactly are the Dining for Women funds going to be used to support these girls?
Yeah, we're so excited. We're going to be using it in a few different ways. One is we're going to be able to supply our girls with a year of nutritious meals and snacks during the day, which is unbelievable. Things like bread, eggs, fruit, and oatmeal, nutritious foods that they don't necessarily get 3 times a day. So the more likely to come to our program, it's an incentive, but it also helps them succeed while they're working with us. Another thing that Dining for Women will be funding is safe transportation for girls between home and school in the Mariposa facility. I already talked about this a little bit, but our girls face danger when they leave the house alone, and parents are very reluctant to let their daughters travel alone. In our community, girls as young as 11 have been kidnapped and forced to be filmed and photographed for pornography. It's scary, and there's a large sexual tourism industry in the area. Additionally, the main highway through town is paved, and large trucks and cars drive through at very high speeds. So pedestrian fatality rates are one of the highest in the world, and crossing the road honestly can be life or death. So we combat these obstacles by providing safe and free transportation to all of our programs wherever they are, and we offer girls stipends to make sure they can get to school safely. We also organize walking groups that are led by mothers in our community, just so that girls within walking distance can walk in a group. Dining for Women is also helping us fund personal and health items for our girls, which include sanitary napkins, first aid kits, school uniforms. They seem like small things, but for example, when a girl is menstruating, she often avoids leaving the house just because she doesn't have the right sanitary options. So we supply them with reusable cloth sanitary napkins so that they can make sure that they're going to school still. Girls can be sent home from school if they don't have proper uniforms, so we help with that, especially at the beginning of the school year, to make sure that they're actually in school as much as possible. And then finally, Dining for Women is giving us some support for our in-country program manager, as well as some artisans in the community who educate the girls, such as musicians, painters, dancers. So there's a lot, but all great things we're really excited about.
I actually really appreciate you saying that they seem like really simple things, because to us it really does seem simple, but to a girl living in a developing world, these are things that are super important, and they're not small whatsoever. And the thing about that kind of interests me is that it's located in the DR, and to us, oftentimes we think of the DR as a travel destination. Like, where am I going to go on vacation this year? Let's go to the DR.
Right.
So, and you kind of touched on some of the things as to what makes the need so important within that region, but can you add anything, or would you like to add anything in regards to the community itself?
Yeah, you know, tourism in Cabarete specifically can be both a blessing and a curse. You know, there's that road that I mentioned where it's sort of like the bars and restaurants on one side, and then, you know, you have the other side where our community is in essentially a lagoon. It's wetlands that they've built their neighborhood on. It's pretty hidden. So when you come to Cabarete, and in most parts of the DR, you could miss most of the poverty that is there. You know, a lot of homes don't have running water. Electricity is very sporadic. The homes in our community flood very easily based on where they are. Some have dirt floors. So, you know, if you come to the DR, sometimes you miss that. But there are some curses that come along with it. I've talked about the sex tourism industry, but there are some blessings too. Tourism has brought some technologies to our community that we otherwise wouldn't have, like Wi-Fi and internet, solar panels. If we weren't a tourist destination, we probably wouldn't have those things for our girls. We also feel honored that we're able to be a bridge between tourists and the community. You know, we get a lot of visitors who come by our center and stop by. It's nice to educate them about our mission, and a lot of other girls' organizations are in very remote areas and don't get that opportunity. So, you know, it comes with a lot of challenges, but there's also a lot of benefits too. And if anyone goes down to the DR, I encourage you to try to get to know the community that you're visiting.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Earlier in your presentation, you mentioned that the girls often have a lot of domestic responsibilities, so they have to take care of and cook for their younger siblings, maybe. So since the program is kind of taking them outside of the home for a period of time, have you seen any kind of resistance from the families, or are they accepting of it?
Yeah, you know, it's been tough for our staff. Some mothers don't see the long-term benefits. You know, if you think about their situation, when they have 6 kids at home, there's a lot of time-consuming chores to do. And we say, hey, let your girls come play soccer with us. You know, they look at us like, are you kidding me? You're crazy. So one of the ways we work around that is giving things to the families of girls with good attendance. For example, we have a bed project where we supply families with new beds. It gives the family incentives to keep sending their girls, but it also ensures that our girls get a good night's sleep and have a place to sleep. There are some parents that don't fully understand what we do, and they might not be interested other than getting incentives, but there's a lot of others whose attitudes have changed completely and are very invested in what we do. We also see very small changes, like boys are asked to do more of the chores because they see the benefits of letting their girls come to our program. You know, it's a lot of work on our end, because if a girl isn't coming, we constantly need to check in on the families and find the reason why she's missing. And we deal with each case individually. And I can give you an example. One of our girls, Lola, wasn't coming, and we found out it was because she had to pick up her little sister from preschool and then care for her afterwards. And so when we found this out, we talked to the neighbors. We ended up paying the neighbors to pick Lola's sister up and feed her and care for her after school, and it cost us about 200 pesos a week, which is about $4. So that $4 a week means that Lola can start coming consistently to our program, and it makes a big difference in her life. So, you know, slowly, change is slow, but parents are coming around.
Wow, that's really interesting, and I commend you on the engagement level. So it's not like you're really engaged in both, not just the girl's life, but the family's life as well. So that's really, really inspiring. So also earlier during your presentation, you mentioned that the girls have to engage in community service projects. Can you tell us a little bit about why this is important and what the benefit really is? Like, what types of community service projects are they involved in, and the benefit to them and the community?
Yeah, so we believe that something inherent in most kids and adolescents is that they want to be involved in part of their community, especially for our girls. No one wants to be a charity case, and they really want to give back. So we teach them there's always someone who is less fortunate, and all the ideas for community service are their own. They do things for the local community. Recently, they collected and donated sheets to the local hospital, the maternity ward. In the hospitals in the DR, you have to bring your own sheets, so often that's a challenge for many in our community. So our girls did that and brought sheets to the hospital, which was amazing. But they also do things for the international community. After the earthquake in Haiti, our girls had a fundraiser, and then when they heard about Malala and that she had been shot, they also raised money, about $260, which is incredible. So it's a wonderful way to empower them and to make them feel like they're doing something. They're really proud of themselves, and it makes them feel special and give them a lot of self-esteem. But it's also a way for our community members to see, wow, these girls are leaders, they're caring members of the community, you know. So there's so many benefits that they get from doing that.
That's really amazing. I think that's awesome. Just I can only imagine the feeling of empowerment that they're getting, that this is their project and they're doing it.
Absolutely.
So, Ashlyn, I think that pretty much about wraps it up, unless you have anything to add. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today, and I know our membership is going to be super excited about this program, just like we are. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
So, for all of our viewers, we thank you also for joining us today, and if you are not able to join us, obviously you can see this program again on YouTube at DFW Events, and we hope to have you back next month to talk about our May featured program, which is the Hope Foundation for Women and Children in Bangladesh. So thank you all very much.